All right, we're live. I'm going to get Cosmic back in here because we were just getting real deep in the book of Enoch. All right, Tess, welcome back. People will start coming in again and we'll get going again. Future Native, welcome back. Justin Johnson, welcome back. Santa Lee, Genevieve, and one other is not telling me who you are. Welcome back. Jenny, the artist apothecary, welcome back. Radical Buppy, welcome back. Cosmic is back. How do I do this? Cosmic, let's go, buddy. Gabriella, welcome back. Baba Bones, welcome back. Oh, thank you for tuning in, brother. And thank you for answering my query earlier. I'm excited to work with that. Doc, welcome back. So what we were saying is the difference between the word, I got to get a pen and paper here. The difference between the word Noah.
Unless you had a whiteboard, ain't it?
All right. Well, we could start doing this on Zoom. It wouldn't be impossible.
It would not be. I thought we were supposed to be doing it on. Remember that was our.
Yeah, but I'm just trying to figure it out. Here, I got this envelope and I got this crayon. Okay. So,
whose crayon is that?
This is the kid's crayon, obviously. Okay, so the word Noah is like this. Nun. It's backwards, of course. It's like backwards, because this flips it. Yeah, so, but nun chet, okay. So to make Menachem,
that nun is Noah.
Noah, yeah, Noah. And then to make Menachem.
Have you heard that term before?
Menachem is definitely a name I've heard, yeah. But I never realized this. So this is a mem Sophie. It's a final mem. You just make the mem that's at the end of the word a different shape, but it's the same letter, right? So it's mem with Noach in the middle, which is crazy because mem literally means water.
Water. His son was in the water.
Noah is obviously surrounded by fucking water. That's like that is it's so that's on one level. The next level, it's interesting because.
So the anglicized, somebody asked how do you spell it. Anglicized is MENAHEM is the anglicized version of his name.
I'll type it. You either see it like that or like this. Ooh. That's probably how you have it in the book, right, Doc?
Yep, that's how we have in the book, yeah.
So, yeah, that is an interesting connection there. And that just happened. You just saw that live. That was right now we put that together. I've never read Book of Enoch, so lay it on me, Doc.
So, so the others call him Menahem, generation. Oh.
Don't point that thing at me.
Sorry.
Mem means water, Pirate Jenny. The letter mem means so like the name of the letter is mem. Mem also means water.
Okay, I see it because it starts with ME and it ends in EM.
EM, and in the middle is
right.
No.
Exactly, Noah.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you. I see it now. This is why I need to take Moses's Hebrew for Hoodoo's 101 course he did.
Back up in my bio. You're right. You do. You need to take the Hebrew folk magic course.
It's good. All right. So just starting this paragraph over again, those who might be just joining in. But then we're reading from chapter 106 from the book of Enoch.
Wait, I want to pause one more. I'm sorry. I know you were just getting going.
No, go ahead.
But I want to tell everyone to tune in on Sunday also.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Actually, we have the links in our bio to join.
Mine disappeared. I got to turn it on. It lost the link. Mine will be up again tomorrow, whatever. But Cosmic has the links in his bios.
Yes, for
Register,
you to.
It's free. It's the service of our church with Dr. Quixote. And when they say church, it is not. It is non-denominational, multi-faith, right? Like that is explicitly what the foundation is. So,
I mean, we petitioned SU, made a cauldron lamp and did a candle vigil all in one service and read in Hebrew.
Yeah, exactly. It's a lot more like it's hoodoo is what it is. If you want to come to Hoodoo Church,
you can find us online at churchofjuju.com and on Facebook at the Spiritualist Church of African Traditions. So definitely do that. You know, every week we do take donations. The link for that is also in my bio. It goes straight to the church. It absolutely bypasses me. But make sure you send your petition with your donation so we can call your name as we petition our shrines for you on Sunday.
Every Sunday, every Sunday, every Sunday.
Sunday at 3 o'clock Eastern.
You don't have to donate.
No, you don't.
If you're not in a position to donate, please tune in anyway.
Right.
You know, all the more so, as we say, please tune in and let us know so we can pray for you.
Yes.
So that you can be in a situation to do it.
Yes. Yes.
Tune in live on the internet. Anywhere in the world, you can tune in. You can be with us. It's on Sundays. Go ahead and register. We do it via Zoom. And they will be recorded. Last week's was not, but they will be recorded. And again, the link's in Cause's bio. It'll be in mine by tomorrow. And you can register right there. You'll get the notification. You'll be on with us. You know, it's pretty brief. It lasts about 30 minutes to an hour. It's not going to take up your whole Sunday. And it's, to me, especially in these times, man, after that first one, that's what changed. You know how negative I was.
Mm-hmm.
I was stressed and depressed and all that. And that first service, all of us on there in our all whites, and the energy we brought, that was gone. It hasn't been back. It is an amazing weekly recharge, and I definitely recommend everyone tune in. Okay, now we've got a whole bunch of new people in. Boy Venus, Sabrina Hex. Oh my gosh, so many people. F. Papillon Noir, Miss True, Urban Majesty. Everyone, welcome. Doc's picking up Book of Enoch 107?
Chapter 106.
106.
Mm-hmm. So, by the name Noah, he was called only by his grandfather, Methuselah. His father and all others called him Menahem. His generation was addicted to sorcery, and Methuselah apprehended that his grandson might be bewitched if his true name were known. Wherefore he kept it a secret. Menahem, comforter, suited him as well as Noah, and it indicated that he would be a counselor. But if the evildoers of his time will repent of their misdeeds, at the very birth it was felt. At his very birth it was felt that he would bring consolation and deliverance. When the Lord said to, this is very interesting, when the Lord said to Adam, "Cursed is the ground for thy sake," Adam asked, "For how long a time?" And the answer made by God was, "Until a man child shall be born, whose conformation is such that the rite of circumcision need not be practiced upon him."
He was born circumcised.
He was born circumcised. This is a very weird child. He's pale. He's albino. He's got white locks for hair. He comes out the womb talking to God.
Right.
And he's born circumcised. But he's not a child of an angel. All right. This was fulfilled in Noah. He was circumcised from his mother's womb. Noah had scarcely come into the world when a marked change was noticeable. Since the curse brought upon the earth by the sin of Adam, it happened that wheat being sown, yet oats would sprout and grow. This means that if you would sow wheat, you may reap some other grain.
Right.
The whole world was in disorder. And how much so is that like today? Leave that alone.
No, don't leave it alone.
We plant one thing and there's some other genetic hybrid ever pops up. He goes on to say here, it happened that wheat being sown, yet oats would sprout and grow. This ceased with the appearance of Noah. The earth bore the products planted in it. And it was Noah who, when he was grown to manhood, invented the plow, invented the scythe, invented the hoe, and other implements for cultivating the ground. Before him, men had worked the land with their bare hands. So he was an engineer as well.
He was. I mean, he had to be. If God says take 120 years to build this masterpiece of an ark, you know what I mean? You're not just if you straight up holler at me as sincerely as you want, Lord. That shit ain't gonna be watertight. I can basically guarantee we're all gonna die.
I got a couple of car bikes out together and a hope and a prayer. Okay, there was another token to indicate that the child born unto Lamech was appointed for an extraordinary destiny. When God created Adam, he gave him dominion over all things. The cow obeyed the plowman, and the furrow was willing to be drawn. But after the fall of Adam, all things rebelled against him. The cow refused obedience to the plowman, and the furrow was refractory. Noah was born, and all returned to its state preceding the fall of man. Before the birth of Noah, the sea was in the habit of transgressing its bounds twice daily, morning and evening, and flooding the land up to the graves. After his birth, it kept within its confines, and the famine that afflicted the world in the time of Lamech, the second of the 10 great famines appointed to come upon it, ceased its ravagings with the birth of Noah. So quite an extraordinary person.
Well, there's so much context again to like what disorder the world was in. That connection between human disorder and global disorder. You know, something I think about all the time because that gets to the root of magic as well. Like, what are we doing? We're ordering or disordering. First of all, that cycle that they described there that was one way before the birth of Noah and then came to be and then ceased to be. It's back to that contracting, expanding, contracting that we've been kind of tracking through the whole thing. But just that notion that what do we do? What is doing work, right? We're introducing order or disrupting order. You know, that's all we're doing. And the very fact that how we live our lives, how we conduct ourselves, the way we I don't believe that we can affect energy outside ourselves per se. I believe that our energy, our individual energy, is connected to that energy which is outside of ourselves. And if we can master this, crank it up just the right way, it'll cause those ripples out to everything else and then create waves to everything else. And that's when we're doing, you know, intentional work, but that's also how we live our lives. And this is what this is describing. Disorder in the totality of the environment, in nature itself, is, you know, global warming, in a sense, is not only being caused in this world by fossil fuels. They're burning shit and whatever, but at the same time, the pure wickedness and disruption of humans offsets the balance of the whole universe. And once that balance is imperfect, it perpetuates its own sort of freakish disorder. And so here we see it, you know, is that not what we're sitting in right now? Like right now, where extreme imbalance is just perpetuating. And what does that mean for our species? What does that mean for, this isn't the first time, I guess is what I need to say. We're hearing of all these famines, all these great plagues. As I was reading here in the commentary, the different pestilences that come when the people are wicked. As, again, a law of nature because of by the same principle which we work magic. The universe is disrupted when people are mindless, essentially. When they become disordered and mindless, then the universe becomes disordered and mindless. And
so what verse are you on? See, I need to. You're in chapter 6, verse 16.
Yeah.
Let me see if I got more commentary on this. Let me see where you are. Make sure I'm not ahead of you or too far behind you. 6:16. Oh yeah, I gotta catch up. Okay, so we found about Moses, how he was born, so on and so on and so forth. Now, all right. So he goes on to say, okay. ceases
Yeah,
ravaging.
we're getting arc blueprints basically where we're at. So yeah,
Oh yeah,
catch
yeah.
up.
I got to catch up.
You got to catch up.
Okay. Grown to manhood, Noah followed in the ways of his grandfather Methuselah, while all other men of the time rose up against this pious king. So far from observing his precepts, they pursued the evil inclination of their hearts and perpetrated all sorts of abominable deeds. Chiefly, the fallen angels and their giant posterity caused the depravity of mankind. The blood spilled by the giants cried unto heaven, much like Abel's blood did.
Abel's blood. Yep.
Unto heaven from the ground. And the four archangels accused the fallen angels, and their sons before God, whereupon he gave the following orders to them. Uriel was sent to Noah to announce to him that the earth would be destroyed by a flood and to teach him how to save his own life. Raphael was told to put the fallen angel Azazel into chains, cast him into the pit of sharp and pointed stones in the desert of Dudadel, and cover him with darkness. And so he was to remain to the great day of judgment, when he will be thrown into the fiery pit of hell, and the earth will be healed of all the corruption he had contrived upon it. Gabriel was charged to proceed against the bastards and the reprobates, the sons of the angels begotten with the daughters of men, and plunge them into deadly conflicts with one another. Shemhazai's ilk, there go my favorite word right there, his ilk, were handed over to Michael, who first caused them to witness the death of their children in the bloody combat with each other. And then he bound them and pinned them under the hills of the earth, where they will remain for 70 generations unto the day of judgment, to be carried thence to the fiery pit of hell. The fall of Azazel and Shemhazai came about in this way. When the generations of the deluge began to practice idolatry, God was deeply grieved. The two angels, Shemhazai and Azazel, arose and said, O Lord of the world, it has happened, that which we foretold at the creation of the world and of man, saying, what is man, that thou art mindful of him? And God said, what will become of the world now without man? Whereupon the angels, we will occupy ourselves with it. Then God said, I'm well aware of it, and I know that you might inhabit the earth. The evil inclinations will overpower you, and you will be more iniquitous than ever man. The angels pleaded, grant us permission to dwell among men, and thou shalt see how we will sanctify thy name. God yielded to their wish, saying, descend and sojourn among men. When the angels came to earth and beheld the daughters of men in all their grace and beauty, they could not restrain their passion. Shemhazai saw a maiden named Istahar. Sounds very close to Ishtar. Istahar. And he lost his heart to her. She promised to surrender herself to him if first he taught her the infallible name, by means of which he raised himself to heaven. He asserted to her condition, but once she knew it, she pronounced the name and herself ascended to heaven without fulfilling her promise to the angel. God said, because she kept herself aloof from sin, we will place her among the 7 stars, that men may never forget her. And she was put in the constellation of the Pleiades. This is very, very interesting.
Yeah, but this is Ishtar, obviously.
Yeah, Ishtar in the stars, the Pleiades, the 7 sisters. I really didn't have to sit down and think about this, but I got to keep reading. Shemhazai and Azazel, however, were not deterred from entering into alliances with the daughters of men. And to the first 2 sons were born. Azazel began to devise the finery and the ornaments by means of which women allure men. Thereupon God sent Metatron to tell Shemhazai that he should dissolve, or that he has resolved to destroy the world and bring a deluge. The fallen angel began to weep and grieve over the face of the world and the fate of his 2 sons. If the world went under, what would they have to eat? They who needed daily 1,000 camels, 1,000 horses, and 1,000 steers. I thought I ate a lot, so. I really did.
And that'll tell you something about people who think they're calling down these greater angels or calling up these greater angels. Unless you're sacrificing 3,000 animals for one day.
Nah, you ain't doing nothing.
Yeah.
Go back to your YouTube video. Let me stop. Bishop said I need to behave. Okay.
Not on my channel. You don't get to say that.
The two sons of Shem Hazai, Hiwa and Hayah. This is interesting. So what is it in Hebrew? So it's Hiwwa and Hiyya. So that's a vav and a yod.
Yeah, well, the double letter is actually just that letter with a dot next to it. So it would be a yud with a dot and a vav with a dot. Vav with a dot makes a W sound.
So how would you pronounce that? Hiwwa and Hiyya.
Let's see if I can find the Book of Enoch in Hebrew. How about that?
Okay.
Oh, you know what? My Google's so good and my phone's listening so well.
They showed you something for a drone. They showed you another industrial drone.
Yeah, exactly. I need those. EarlyJewishWritings.com. Sweet. Hebrew Book of Enoch. Let's see. This is all in English.
All in English?
Yeah. Oh, shit. I just hit the power button on my computer. Yeah, I can't. I can't.
Plunged in darkness, Moses.
I know. That's what happens. You ask about the holy names and shit goes real wrong. Let there be light. I cannot find the Book of Enoch in Hebrew. Yeah. So I can't tell you what those names are, buddy. I'm sure it exists.
Okay.
Wait, full text of Hebrew Book of Enoch? No, this is in English. How is this at all? Okay, so how about
probably because it's considered apocrypha, and so.
But what if I look for it in Hebrew?
Like the Hebrew name of it, Sefer Enoch or something.
Yeah, Sefer Enosh. Well, I got some Kabbalah for you. Give me a minute.
Okay.
Okay. So, I'll read you from the Zohar.
Okay.
Go to the classic, right? Where's Enosh? Okay, so this is regarding the hidden light. So this is kind of the beginning, when God said, "Let there be light."
Mm-hmm.
This is the light that the Blessed One created at first. It is the light of the eye. It is the light that the Blessed One showed the first Adam. With it, he saw from one end of the world to the other. It is the light that the Blessed Holy One showed David. He sang its praise. How great is your good that you have concealed for those who fear you. It is the light that the Blessed Holy One showed Moses. With it, he saw from Gilead to Dan. The Blessed Holy One saw that 3 wicked generations would arise: the generation of Enoch, the generation of the flood, and the generation of the Tower of Babel. He hid the light away, so they would not make use of it. The Blessed Holy One gave it to Moses, and he used it for 3 unused months of his gestation. As it is said, she concealed him for 3 months. When 3 months had passed, he was brought before Pharaoh, and the Blessed Holy One took it away from him until he stood on Mount Sinai to receive the law. Then he gave him back that light. He wielded it his whole life long, and the children of Israel could not come near him until he put a veil over his face. As it is said, they were afraid to come near him. He wrapped himself in it as in a talit, a prayer shawl. As it is written, he wraps himself in light as in a garment.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one.
That's interesting because because so from my interpretation, that latter part that you're talking about was what happened when he went up on the mountain, came down, his face shone as a horned face. But that he had that even in the womb, similar to like Noah.
Yeah,
open up his eyes and light up the whole house.
That's the interesting thing there. Like, I didn't realize I was going to stumble on that, but that's exactly what's going on here. Okay, so I think I found it, and Sefer Hanoch is what they call it, which is 30 Enoch. Sefer Divrei Hanoch B'Shel El Ben Halevi. That's a book. I have to buy it. Yeah, I don't know if I can find it. And that's a point also in the genealogy that in Hebrew, as we said before, Enoch is Hanoch, not Enosh. So here's the official rabbinic take, by the way, on the Book of Enoch. I did find it. It says the Book of Enoch, this is a sort of major rabbi responding to questions about it. I do not want to do anything this pop-up says. So someone said, what is the Book of Enoch? It seems to contain fascinating content, and I'm wondering if you recommend I buy it for study. So the Aish rabbi, the fire rabbi, replies, the Book of Enoch is an ancient but non-sacred work, dating most likely from the Second Temple period. The book attributes itself to Enoch, Hanoch, a direct descendant of Adam and Noah's great-grandfather. Several fragments of it in Aramaic have been found among the Dead Sea Scrolls. It is not known if the book was written originally in Hebrew or in Aramaic, the common language of the time. However, it was not incorporated into the Tanakh and is not considered a sacred work. I'm going to add the editorial note in mainstream Judaism. There's no mention, to my knowledge, in any classic Jewish text. In fact, the Book of Enoch was more or less a lost work to the Jews from not long after that time. Whoa. Get ready for this. It was translated into Greek, and possibly from there to Ge'ez, an ancient Ethiopian language, which again, back to my theory that original...
Solomon sent it down to Ethiopia.
All retained down there, yes. And the liturgical language of some Ethiopian Christians today. Only the Ethiopians preserve the Book of Enoch throughout the ages and revere it today. In terms of its content, the Book of Enoch covers many topics. Although some parts of it parallel passages in Jewish midrash, so the oral lore, much of it is foreign and speaks of notions not compatible with, I will editorialize, mainstream Jewish beliefs. It speaks at great length about the fallen angels who begat a race of giants known as Nephilim. Although a minority opinion in Jewish literature understands the sons of God, the sons of B'nai Elohim, as we said, of Genesis 6:2 to be referring to fallen angels, they are not understood as rebellious angels, only fallen ones. There's a longer discussion on that topic that I'll send to you.
I'm sure. But you know, it's interesting. If I just take a quick dovetail here, let me tell you the most recent theory I've heard. I heard this earlier this year, late last year, must have been, because I was out in the temple and I was listening to this. And the theory is this, that the Nephilim are not the children of the fallen angels or the fallen angels themselves, okay? But there's something else entirely other that we don't know and is irrelevant to the biblical narrative. So the way the guy says this, I'll see you the actual video. He says, now 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 it came to pass in the just at verse 4. There were giants on the earth in those days, and also afterwards, when the sons of God came into the doors of men, and they bore children to them. So what he's saying is that the giants are a separate phenomenon altogether. That the writer of Genesis only references the giants to give time context for when this happened. Like, remember you heard about the giants? Yeah. Okay, well, during that time period, this happened.
That time.
Right. Yeah. But not that their offspring were giants. That these were contemporary events or circa contemporary events happening.
Sure.
Which would then beg the question, well, then what the hell were the giants?
Right. I mean, you can't just bring that up and not finish.
Right. But that was the guy's theory. He says that the giants were not the subject of the text, but simply a referential point to give you context of the time period in which it happened. So that there's some other lineage or knowledge or tradition about the actual giants that we don't have today. But that this is not the Nephilim. The Nephilim are some other thing.
Yeah, no, it makes it clear that their kids are the generation after them. I keep thinking of Greek mythology, right?
Right, that's exactly what I think.
The Titans, the demigods, and then the heroes that come after them.
Right.
Which is the great men of renown and all that.
Those demigods. Yeah, I see the same correlation. Shemshari. No, Shemhazai. The two sons of Shemhazai. Hiwa and I'm just gonna say Hiwa and Hiya. Okay. Okay. By name, dream dreams. The one saw a great stone which covered the earth, and the earth was marked all over with lines upon lines of writing. An angel came and with a knife obliterated all the lines, leaving but 4 letters upon the stone. The other son saw a large pleasure grove planted with all sorts of trees, but angels approached bearing axes, and they felled the trees, sparing a single one with 3 of its branches. When Hiwa and Hiya awoke, they repaired to their father, who interpreted the dreams for them, saying, God will bring a deluge. None will escape with his life, excepting only Noah and his sons. When they heard this, the two began to cry and scream. But their father consoled them, saying, Soft, soft, do not grieve. As often as men cut and haul stones or launch vessels, they shall invoke your names, Hiwa, Hiya. Onomatopoeia.
Yeah.
Okay. They should call him Ichabod. No.
All right, so here's what I got. What I got. The why don't you say it in Hebrew? The Book of the Giants. Here it is. Mm-hmm. It is a book. It is an apocryphal Jewish book which expands the Urtzeit to Endzeit, the primeval creation to end of time narrative of the Hebrew Bible, and by its multifaceted elaborations on divine decrees of warning and doom, ties the ancient prophet Hanoch Enoch closer to his generally recognized storyline, as it were. Anyway, this is where we get all the giants, the Nephilim, Giborim, and Rephaim. All this stuff is the Book of Giants, supposedly. It's Manichaean. So this would be the Proto-Persian Empire, Middle Iranian. So
that would make sense to Ishtar.
Yeah. So we're talking about AD 216 to 274. It says, composition attributed to Mani, a Parthian citizen of southern Mesopotamia, who was a follower of El-Kasai, a Jewish Christian prophet and visionary who lived in the early years of the 2nd century. Interesting.
Very interesting.
It's been found. So a copy, Manichaean, 1943 publication by W.B. Henning of the Manichaean fragments from the Book of Giants discovered at Turfan in western China.
In China?
Yeah. And it's in the Dead Sea Scrolls too. In Western China.
That's new.
Ain't that a twist?
Just when you think, let me stop. Moving on.
Wait, hold on. And then a connection to the Book of Moses. This is interesting. This is a whole other rabbit hole I'll get into.
Okay, we have to we'll have to come back to that one.
Yeah.
Shemhazai then did penitence. He suspended himself between heaven and earth, and in this position of a penitent sinner he hangs to this day. But Azazel persisted obdurately in his sin of leading mankind astray by means of sensual allurements. For this reason, 2 he-goats were sacrificed in the temple on the Day of Atonement, one for God, that he pardoned the sins of Israel, the other for Azazel, that he bare the sins of Israel. Unlike Estahar, the pious maiden, Naamah, the lovely sister of Tubal-Cain, led the angels astray with her beauty. And from her union with Shamdan sprang the devil Asmodeus. She was as shameless as all the other descendants of Cain, and as prone to bestial indulgences. Canaanite women and Canaanite men alike were in the habit of walking abroad naked, and they gave themselves up to every conceivable manner of lewd practices. Of such were the women whose beauty and sensual charms tempted the angels from the path of virtue. The angels, on the other hand, no sooner had they rebelled against God and descended to earth than they lost their transcendental qualities and were invested with sublunar bodies, so that a union with the daughters of men became possible. The offspring of these alliances between the angels and the Canaanite women were the giants, known for their strength and their sinfulness, and their very nature, and their very name, the Emim, indicates they inspired fear. They have many other names. Sometimes they go by the name Rephaim, because one glance at them made one's heart grow weak. By the name Gibborim, simply giants, which also, might I add, were part of David's special bodyguard, known as the mighty men of valor, the mighty men of David. The word there is Gibborim. These were offspring of this, why they're his bodyguards, I would imagine. Yeah. Gibborim, simply giant. Also the same root word as the name Gabriel. Gibbor, El Gibbor, the God of strength, the God of might. Simply giants, because their size was so enormous that their thighs measured 18 eels, or by the name Zamzumim, because they were great masters in war, or by the name Anakim, because they touched the sun with their neck, or by the name Evim, Ivvim, because like the snake, they could judge the qualities of the soil, or finally by the name Nephilim, because bringing the world to its fall, they themselves fell. Okay. All right. So I'm still catching up with you. You all right?
I'm good.
Okay. While the descendants of Cain resembled their father in his sinfulness and depravity, the descendants of Seth led a pious, well-regulated life, and the difference between the conduct of the two stocks was reflected in their habitations. The family of Seth was settled upon the mountains in the vicinity of Paradise, while the family of Cain resided in the field of Damascus, the spot whereupon Abel was slain by Cain. Unfortunately, at the time of Methuselah, following the death of Adam, the family of Seth became corrupted after the manner of the Cainites. The two strains united with each other to execute all kinds of iniquitous deeds. The result of the marriages between them were the Nephilim, whose sins brought the deluge upon the world. In their arrogance, they claimed the great pedigree as the posterity of Seth, and they compared themselves with princes of men of noble descent. The wantonness of this generation was in a manner due to the ideal conditions under which mankind lived before the flood. They knew neither toil nor care, and as a consequence of their extraordinary prosperity, they grew insolent. Boy, that sounds something very similar to today. They grew insolent. And
I know we are probably giants by most biblical size standards.
Yeah, they're like 4 feet.
Yeah, exactly.
In their arrogance, they rose up against God. A single sowing bore a harvest sufficient for the needs of 40 years. Wow. And by means of magic arts, they could compel the very sun and moon to stand ready to do their service, which, might I add, okay, is a good segue to my point about what Joshua learned from Moses, who learned from the mystery school of Egypt. Joshua chapter 10, verses 10, 11, 12, and 13, where he causes a solstice to happen. He calls the sun to stand still and the moon to stand still. The raising of children gave them no trouble. Wow. What an era they lived in. They were born after a few days' pregnancy, and immediately after birth, they could walk and talk. And they themselves aided the mother in severing the navel string. Oh, wow, they even cut their own umbilical cord. They're ready to get going. Not even demons could do them harm. Once a newborn babe running to fetch a light whereby his mother might cut the navel string met the chief of the demons, and a combat ensued between the two. Suddenly the crowing of a cock was heard, and the demon made off, crying out to the child, "Go report to thy mother. If it had not been for the crowing of the cock, I would have killed thee." Whereupon the child retorted, "Go report to thy mother. If I had not been for my uncut navel string, I would have killed thee." It sounds very Jewish in nature. It sounds.
And that's the world's first "go tell your mama."
Right. This is hilarious. See, I know kids like this. That's the problem. I know kids just like this. No, you gonna tell your mama. Boy, excuse the hell out of me. It was their carefree life that gave them space and leisure for their infamies. For a time, God, his long-suffering kindness, passed by the iniquities of men, but his forbearance ceased when once they began to lead unchaste lives. For God is patient with all sins, save only an immoral life. The other sin that hastened the end of the iniquitous generation was their rapacity. So cunningly were their depredations planned that the law could not touch them. If a countryman brought a basket of vegetables to market, they would edge up to it, one after the other, and extract a bit, each in itself of petty value, but in a little while the dealer would have none left to sell. It's a lot like today. Even after God had resolved upon the destruction of the sinners, he permitted his mercy to prevail, in that he sent Noah to them, who extolled them for 120 years to amend their ways, always holding the flood over them as a threat. As for them, they but derided him. And when they saw him occupying himself with building the ark, they asked, "Wherefore this ark?" Noah would reply, "God will bring a flood upon you." The sinners would say, "What sort of flood?" If he sends a fire flood, against that we know how to protect ourselves. If it's a flood of water, then if the waters bubble up from the earth, we will cover them with iron rods. And if they descend from above, we know remedy for that, for against that too.
I will segue here. That, by the way, you may remember one of the first times we talked, and I think I touched on it in Jewish folk magic, the idea of why we should call angel names, according to the current modern thinking, is that because they were saying we can call angel names and do whatever we need to do. We can stop the rain. We can stop whatever. And the idea that God then switched the names. And so we don't, that the phone book is wrong, basically. And if you go by those, the results will be unpredictable, is what, of course, that's also a good cover to keep people from playing with this stuff.
Very true. Interesting. Noah says, the waters will ooze out from under your feet, and you will not be able to ward them off. Partly they persisted in their obduracy of heart, because Noah had made known to them that the flood would not descend so long as the pious Methuselah sojourned among them. The period of 120 years, which God had appointed at the term of their probation having expired, Methuselah died. But out of regard for the memory of this pious man, God gave them another week's respite. Hey, son, good to see you. The week of mourning for him. During this time of grace, the laws of nature were suspended, and the sun rose in the west and set in the east. That sounds like a line from Game of Thrones. To the sinners, God gave the dainties that await men in the future world for the purpose of showing them what they were forfeiting. But all this proved unavailing, and Methuselah and the other pious men of the generation, having departed this life, God brought the deluge upon the earth. Great wisdom was needed for building the ark, which was to have space for all beings on earth, even the spirits. Only the fishes did not have to be provided for. Noah acquired the necessary wisdom from the book given to Adam by the angel Raziel. You need to go check out Moses' book, Hebrew Folk Magic, because he covers this, in which all celestial and all earthly knowledge is recorded. While the first human pair was still present in paradise, it once happened that Samael, accompanied by a lad, approached Eve. I'm skipping all of this, but we're up to the ark being
constructed, right? Conceived,
yes.
At least, right?
Yes.
So we're making a skylight, I think.
A skyline. After the death of Adam, the holy book disappeared, but later the cave in which it was hidden was revealed to Enoch. And you said what came up in a cave? What book did you read came up in a cave?
What's that? Now?
Yeah.
The book of Enoch. Well, Dead Sea Scrolls came up in a cave. The book
right.
of Giants here.
The book of Giants.
Yeah. Which I cannot find the Hebrew name for, but apparently it's in the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Because this says.
And now here's an interesting thing in Book of Giants. This is actually how I got to it. That I was looking up that name you were saying, not Azazel, but the other one.
Mm-hmm. Hiwa and Hiya.
Shem their father, Shem Yachzah.
Mm-hmm.
So, in the book of Enoch, is a leader of a band of rebellious holy ones, right?
Mm-hmm.
But so in the book of Giants, he has two sons who together battle Leviathan and apparently slay Leviathan. But they're not portrayed as heroic because they boast about their victory, which was a symbol of royal failure to keep one's power in the world. After that, they are slain. So they kill Leviathan, and then he and the sons are slain by the four punishing angels.
After the death of Adam, the holy book disappeared, but later the cave in which it was hidden was revealed to Enoch in a dream. And it was from this book that Enoch drew his knowledge of nature, of the earth and of the heavens, and became so wise through it that his wisdom exceeded the wisdom of Adam. Once he had committed it to memory, Enoch hid the book again. Now, when God resolved upon bringing the flood on the earth, he sent the angel Raphael to Noah as a bearer of the following message. Quote, I give thee herewith the holy book, that all the secrets and mysteries written therein may be made manifest unto thee, and that thou mayest know how to fulfill its injunctions in holiness, purity, modesty, and humility. thou wilt learn from it how to build an ark of the wood of the gopher tree, wherein thou and thy sons and thy wife shall find protection. Noah took the book. When he had studied it, the Holy Spirit came upon him, and he knew all. Let me pause right there and give a conjure tip. Notice how it says, he took the book. When he studied it, the Holy Spirit came upon him. You do need to, there is a place to have book knowledge of things. All right. You do need to know the what. This is good for that. This is good for that. This is good for that. You know, your list, your book of correspondences. All right. But when you go to work, the Spirit will come upon you and illuminate to you from what you've read, from what you've committed to memory, what to draw from, what to utilize. So you may have a list of 20, I'm trying to stop saying 21, 35 herbs for love, okay? But when you sit at your shrines, your Spirit may say, pick this one, that one, and that one. Mm-hmm. All right? So he studied the book, and the Spirit came upon him. And he said, and he knew all things needful for the building of the ark and the gathering together of the animals. The book, which was made of sapphires, he took with him into the ark, having first enclosed it in a golden casket. That's another type of ark right there.
Manly P. Hall says, and I don't know the source, but he says that the first 10 commandments, the first tablets that Moses then broke, that were actually written by the finger of God, were written in sapphire.
This also goes back to your point about the original laws being the universal laws.
Right.
The book of Razi.
That being broken, and then you clearly you guys can't handle that.
We'll give you 10.
Grade school for you.
Right. We're going to go all the way back to first grade. Having enclosed it in a golden casket, all the time he spent in the ark, it served him as a timepiece to distinguish night from day. Before his death, he entrusted it to Shem, and he in turn to Abraham. From Abraham, it descended through Jacob, Levi, Moses, and Joshua to Solomon, who learned all his wisdom from, there it is, from Abraham. Wait. Before his death, the trusted him to Shem, give it to Abraham, Abraham down through Jacob, Jacob to Levi, Levi to Moses, as you said. Yeah. And Joshua to Solomon, who learned all his wisdom from it, and his skill in the healing art, and also his mastery over demons. All right, you can pick up from there.
Wow. That's a whole other, so many places we could go from there. But we'll just go back and finish, and we'll get with the dimensions of the ark. Back to the mundane. And this is the size you shall make it, 300 cubits. Orech, hold on. Orech HaTeva is the width of the ark. Chamishim Amah Rachba, 50 cubits its breadth. Ushloshim Amah Komata, 30 cubits its height. So a cubit is from here, the tip of the finger, to the elbow. So 30. This is a big boat. You know, this is a real big boat we're talking about, a big ark. Again, versus the other arks we talked about, the Ark of the Covenant, the Ark of the Tabernacle, the Ark Moses is put in. These are small. Relative, you know, they're all arcs. Sohar Tasa, a skylight you shall make, Lateva, for the ark. The El Amma, into a cubit, Tachlena mil mala, you shall finish it to the top. Ufetach HaTeva, and the entrance of the ark, Betzida Tasim, you shall place in its side. Tachtim Shneim, you shall make it with a bottom compartments. Second story, Ushloshim Tasa. So you make it with 3 stories of compartments. It's got the entrance in the side. There's a skylight on the top. It's finished all the way up.
For those of you who are just joining, this is Hoodoo Moses. I'm here as his guest. This is Hoodoo for Hebrews, our Torah study, our sacred scripture circle. And we are discussing Genesis chapter 6, and we're at verse 16.
Yes.
Okay.
So what do they mean by tzar? What do they mean by skylight? Here in Genesis Rabbah it says, some say that it was a window. Check this out though.
This is what I have in my translation.
Yeah. Some say that it was a precious stone which gave them light. Perhaps a sapphire. Sapphire is my birthstone. You got me excited. So yeah, it's 3 stories. There's upper compartments for people, middle ones for animals, and the bottom ones were for waste, it says. Thoughtful. Ve'ani hineni, and behold, I mevi et hamabul, and bringing the flood. Mayim al haaretz, water upon the earth. L'shachet, to destroy. Kol basar, all flesh, all meat. Asher bo, that in which ruach chayim, the breath of life, the spirit of life. Mitachat hashamayim, from beneath the heavens. Again, mitacha, not that are beneath, but from beneath the heavens. Kol asher ba'aretz, yigva, will perish. They can derive from the word behold. He says behold because that's what they say when he's ready to agree with the angels who had urged him so long ago to do this. They get this from Psalms 8:5. What is man that you should remember him? That pleading that finally God says, all right, check it out, guys. Believe it or not, I will go along with what you were saying. So why is the word for flood mabul? They say because they bilah, they wore out everything. They bilbel, they mixed up everything. They transported, hovil, everything from the high ground to the low ground. That man had, and isn't this talking about what's going on right now? So what did man do? They wore out the earth, they mixed up the earth, and they transported that which should have been high to the low places. This is the lesson. This is saying that's why a flood came, because those were the things they had wrought upon the earth. That ha kimoti et bariti, and I shall set up my covenant itach with you. Uva'ata el hateva, and you shall come into the ark. Ata uvanecha ve'ishtecha u'neshe v'necha ita, and you and your son, you and your sons and your wife and your sons' wives with you. So a covenant was necessary for the fruits so that they should not rot and become putrid, and so that the wicked generation should not kill them. So why did they need to set up a covenant was the question. God set up a covenant because that became the basis for which miracles were to be performed. And again, we got to talk about switching back to just talking about conjuring. What is conjuring? Conjuring is making covenants. This is the power of the covenant. This is the power of covenants that your family, and your generations may have opted into, and the covenants that you opt into, the covenants that you make. And I will say this, mainstream Judaism, as we discussed on Yom Kippur, the most important prayer is a prayer that says, any covenants I make with God this year, I cancel in advance in the year to come. So it is neutering or child-proofing this technology, I believe. The power of the covenant with the Spirit, with God, with any spirit that you're interacting with, that's what conjuring is. It is to conjure, to join together, to make a covenant, to create an oath. Umikol hachai mikol basar, from all the living things that are of flesh. Shnayim mikol tavi, 2 of each you shall bring. El hateva, into the ark. Lehachayot itach zachar unikava v'yihyu. You shall bring in the ark to preserve alive with you. They shall be male and female. So Genesis Rabbah, they say of all living things, even demons. Even demons bring onto the ark. Noah is the reason you got to deal with demons, because he received that commandment. We got 16 remaining, and we will pick it up from there.